You're sitting in a secret room with electrodes on your wrists, chest, and forehead. The person opposite you is expressionless. Your voice is monotonous. Questions are thrown one by one, and a lie detector is placed on the table. Don't panic. You can beat it. The lie detector itself cannot actually detect lies. It uses electrodes to measure your autonomic nervous system responses, indirectly deduce which emotions those responses come from, and then infer whether you're lying. Based on whether those emotions are abnormal in the here and now, there are 3 links in this long chain. In the first section, it is very reliable to test your sweating, heart rate, and galvanic skin responses. These autonomic nervous system responses are hardly controlled by the higher cerebral cortex, and it is difficult to fake them. If you don't have professional and systematic training, don't waste your efforts on controlling these responses, and you might want to cover up. It's different from the second quarter. Your sweating increases, your heart rate increases, and your skin electrical signals rise. What emotions correspond to each? This matter is not so reliable. Emotions closely related to lying are fear because of fear of being discovered, guilt because of guilt about lying, and pride because of the pleasure of success. Do these emotions have unique autonomic response markers? There is no consensus in the academic community. The third section is also loose, inferring whether a person is lying from a specific emotion. Even if the subject is found to be in fear, can it be determined that he is lying? He may just be afraid of being thought to be lying. The lie detector cannot distinguish the cause of fear. The lie detector is unpredictable, but you wait and be happy. The game between the polygraph and the subject. You know these twists and turns now, but the people who test you specialize in this, know it a long time ago, and know it better. They have invented many ways to deal with you, all kinds of things, grouped into 2 major schools. A faction will ask you a very exciting question. For example, to determine if you have stolen trade secrets, they will insert this reference question into the polygraph. Have you taken work stationery from the workplace without permission in the past 10 years? The logic goes like this. Innocents and corporate spies react differently to the reference question, even if they both feel angry. Who do you take me for? Anger is to be expected. But for corporate espionage, while he reacts more strongly to the reference question, the response is not greater than the really key question. Did you steal the company's trade secrets? On the contrary, for the innocent person, who has not taken the company's trade secrets, he is relatively more concerned about maintaining his reputation for not stealing at the company. The relative difference in the responses of different people to the 2 sets of questions points in the direction of the liar. The other faction will ask you a question that only the perpetrator knows the truth. Or using the example of a trade secret theft, the tester asks you, the password for the safe is 1 to 3, isn't it? The password is indeed 123. He doesn't expect you to answer yes stupidly and catch you in the act. His logic is that the innocent and the perpetrator react differently when they hear the password 123. The innocent doesn't know what the password is, the response is mediocre, and the perpetrator will react very strongly. Know the outline of these 2 techniques, and you've beaten the lie detector. If it's hard for it to surprise you, there's no good way to take you. These intrigues with the lie detector are a prelude to a book by Ekman called Lying, Debunking Deceptions in Business, Politics, and Marriage in Chinese. The English name is Telling Lies, which I like to translate literally as lie defense. As a machine, the lie detector can only measure the physiological response of the human body. Whether it can identify lies or not, in the end, it still has to find the answer in the game between the lie detector and the tested. These lie detector scams are no different from the face-to-face and manual identification of lies in our lives. Dispel the illusion of machine mana, and the problem of lie detection emerges more clearly. We can believe everything, at the cost of often being deceived by lies. We can doubt everything, at the cost of widely injuring good people. Between false negatives and false positives, whether it is machine lie detection or human lie detection, they are still looking for the most effective middle way. Ackerman's facial expression lie detector. Ekman's specialty is facial lie detection. Who is Ackerman? Have you seen the American TV series Lie to Me? This is a crime drama. The protagonist, Letterman, founded the Letterman Group. used the facial action coding system FACS to interpret micro-expressions and solve many important cases. Except for the different names, every word in the previous sentence is about Ekman. He is the world's leading expert on facial expression research, and he has applied what he has learned. He founded the Ackerman Group, compiled a manual for coding facial movements, specializes in micro-expression recognition, which is used to identify lies. The Huffington Post called him the world's best liar catcher. Before all this, he was first and foremost a psychologist. His most important and controversial psychological discovery was that expressions are universally consistent. Before him, the mainstream view in the academic world was that expressions were cultural products. Chinese expressions were different from those of Americans. And people living in primitive tribes had expressions different from those of modern people. No, Ekman said, maybe not all emotions, but at least the expressions that correspond to the most important emotions of happiness, fear, anger, sadness, tension are universally consistent, regardless of your age, gender, culture, or ethnicity. Is the expression generally consistent? What does this have to do with polygraphs? It matters a lot. If expression is universally consistent, then it is a product of evolution, not a cultural norm controlled by a particular society. Whenever, wherever, whoever, whatever emotion there is that specific expression that corresponds to it. On the other hand, as long as you crack the expression code, you can gain insight into your inner emotion. If it doesn't match the emotion you're exhibiting, you're probably lying. This is the first layer. There's a second layer, where you try to hide your expression when you lie, but the cover-up itself leaves traces. Catching these traces can also tell lies. For example, when you lie, when you tell the truth, people will laugh. But the way you laugh is different. Where is the difference? We'll tell you in the end. Ekman's expression experiment. How did Ekman confirm that the expressions were generally the same? First, he showed the same set of emoji pictures to people from all over the world. Chinese, Chileans, Brazilians, Argentines, Japanese, us people, and asked them what emotions these expressions represented. All answered the same. Of course, this was not enough. These people were all polluted by globalization. Hollywood's movie and television hegemony also had a share. Everyone had watched us blockbusters and learned the meaning of these expressions. So Ekman went to a place that wasn't polluted, Papua New Guinea, the treasure trove of anthropological research in the 20th century. He found an isolated tribe and showed the people there the emoji pictures he brought from the anthropological research library. The local people had no words, so they couldn't look at a picture and point to the word happy for him. So he asked the person to tell a story, and the story had to show the emotion corresponding to the expression. And you guessed it, it was the same. He collected hundreds of stories like this. This is the first step. The second step, he turned around and organized the stories, typed them, and then changed the tribe and told the stories to the locals, asking them to pick out emoji pictures that fit the emotions reflected in the stories. Tried more than 300 people, accounting for 3% of the local population. Again, this is not difficult for the natives, and they got it right again. These 300 people had never seen a movie or television. This was the first time they saw photo. They did not speak English and stayed in the village all their lives. Only 23 people had more contact with the outside world. For the sake of insurance, Ekman took another step and found 9 locals again, asked them to listen to the story, make corresponding expressions, take a photo, bring it back to the US, and play it in college classrooms. What are these expressions? No one got it wrong. You're done. From then on, Ekman devoted his life to the study of expressions. He built a database of the mapping relationship between expressions and emotions, and collected tens of thousands of expressions, of which more than 3,000 were related to emotions. The book Lie Detection was his famous work that aroused public attention. In fact, it was a derivative of his expression research. Once, a woman with depression went to the doctor, said she had returned to normal, and asked to be discharged from the hospital. She was radiant and in high spirits. The doctor noticed nothing unusual and issued a discharge note, almost making a big mistake. The patient later admitted that he wanted to commit suicide after being discharged from the hospital. The process was fully recorded and became model material for lying research. The doctor did not see, and hardly anyone without training could see, the very brief expression of sadness on the face of the patient who claimed to be mentally normal, fleeting and covered by a smile. This is the key to Ekman's polygraph research: micro-expressions. Micro-expressions themselves are complete expressions, but they are extremely short, usually only a quarter of a second. As if a normal expression had been highly compressed in time. Micro-expressions are real expressions of inner emotions, Ekman said, but they are difficult for the naked eye to detect without training. And they can only be seen in the slow-motion replay of the camera, and then it may be too late. Ekman's lie detection research focuses on recognizing, capturing, and training people to spot micro-expressions. He tested more than 20,000 people of different backgrounds and ultimately found that only about 50 people could spot lies without special training, and the rest, which is almost all of us, wept. Ekman said that with deliberate training, ordinary people can also acquire the ability to detect lies. Micro-expression is a treasure, because lying and lie detection is an arms race. And liars have always paid attention to areas that are known to be prone to flaws, and micro-expression is a new territory. And liars have not yet had time to focus on intensive training. If you want to become an expert in lie detection, it is recommended to study the facial movement coding manual he compiled. More than 500 pages, countless facial muscle measurements, and endless detailed analysis. A guide to lie detection in life. I'm here to talk about a simple guide to lie detection with expressions that can be used in life. To identify whether the other person's expression is true or false, the first thing to see is whether his expression is symmetrical. Spontaneous expressions are more symmetrical, and deliberately created expressions are more asymmetrical. If the other party's face is particularly distorted at this moment, it's probably lying to you. Second, look at the duration. The duration of the real expression is very short. More than 5 seconds is not very real, and 10 seconds is undoubtedly made. If the other person's smile seems to be frozen on his face, then he is lying to you. Third, look at the time when the expression appears. If the expression lags behind the corresponding language, it is also made. Finally, let me talk about smiles. Ekman said that there are dozens of types of laughter, and there are 18 common ones. There are too many reasons for people to laugh. They will laugh when they are happy. They will laugh when they hide their happiness, and they will smile bitterly when they are unhappy. They will laugh when they are afraid, and they will laugh when they express contempt. Not to mention all kinds of mixed laughter. These can all be real laughs. What is that smirk? The first sign just said that fake smiles are not as symmetrical as real smiles. The second sign is the eyes. When you fake a smile, the muscles around the eyes don't move. On the other hand, when you see the girl in front of you smiling like a flower, as if her eyes are smiling, then she is really laughing, so cherish it. The third sign is that the fake smile disappears more suddenly. If all 3 signs appear at the same time, you should have a point about the person in front of you. Expression is so visceral, but as a scientist, Ekman doesn't say it can inquire. He reminds us that the dilemma of killing and letting go by mistake is in front of a lie detector, and it is also in front of an expression, lie detector. The information obtained from expressions must be referenced with language and movement. So no matter how abstractly we know about the human animal, it cannot replace the real understanding of the person in front of us. The competition between lies and lies is not over, just a change of battlefield. Summary of this lecture. To sum up, in today's thinking training, we talked about how to distinguish lies by cracking the secret of expression. Inspired by Ekman's book Lying, Debunking Scams in Business, Politics, and Marriage, I recommend you check it out. Thinking today. Here's a little exercise for you. Smile sincerely and fake again to your friend next to you, and ask him if he can tell which is sincere and which is fake. You are welcome to let me know your feedback in the comment area below the manuscript.